There's mismatch in terms of people's expectation of how to use LinkedIn. I realize on LinkedIn, yes, the premium can be pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it. Every connection will create something more than just dollar absolute value. My success rate on LinkedIn is kind of high. I don't know how I did it, but this is how I do it of every single other connections I build in life. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm just going to talk about how to cold outreach people on LinkedIn, because I found this conversation happening in my life again and again and again, because I wanted to help people. And when I talk about, oh, I actually got a job when I reach out to people on LinkedIn, I actually build a new and meaningful connection on LinkedIn. And of course, nowadays LinkedIn can be a little bit too much, but I always find that people are building a startup, trying to establish new connections, and you wanted to reach out to people or potential customers. If you're looking for a job, if you're students, you're trying to reach out to professionals. I always have this conversation. I was like, yeah, just use LinkedIn. You can send an invitation to someone and they will accept it, and you can, just take it from there. But the conversation goes like, I did send the invitation, but they never accepted it. Then my next question is, so did you write anything in your invitation request? And they'll be like, no, I didn't say anything. There's only 100 characters. There's nothing I can say. Or some people, they will be like, yes, I did send messages, and it's, like, look, I have this tool, it's an AI tool that automated everything. So it will send a request and a reminder every few days. And then I realized there's a mismatch in terms of people's expectation of how to use LinkedIn. Today I just want to talk about that because my success rate on LinkedIn is kind of high. I don't know how I did it, but this is how I do it of every single other connections I build in life. So let's talk about that today. You can find timestamp down below. You have actionable steps. First is, I realize on LinkedIn, yes, the premium can be pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it, especially if you're looking for a job, but you're in a critical phase in your career that you need to build as many connections as possible, because the premium function actually gives you 300 characters, and I think that's more than enough for you to convey who you are, why you're here, why do you want to build a connection. So I always have the premium. The 300 words, I will start like this. Hi, I'm Lydia, and then I will tell them what I have been doing in my career, so many years in blah blah, and then I will find the common ground. Why did I reach out to them and think that this connection is valuable for them? We work in the same field and we have the same goal. And then I will say I wanted to stay connected and enable collaboration and future connections. And thank you. Because 300 characters is not too long, so that's the gist of it. How you can demonstrate is basically who you are, why you want to connect it, and why the connection is valuable. You need to customize just a little bit. Because if you send those standardized invitation like, I want to stay connected, and if the other person, usually if you want to connect with someone, it will be someone who's valuable to your network, but you need to demonstrate why you are valuable to their network, why connecting with can expand their network. So that's the first step. I think most of the people, they know that, but they're not doing enough. So usually if people send invitation to me, they have demonstrated a sentence or two about the relevance, then naturally I will accept it, right? It's not a huge commitment to accept someone's invitation, and then they can follow up. Once you have the connection, you can follow up in a longer message, and in that message, it's the same as you cold outreach or a first email to someone. A lot of people have great templates online. They've done harder things than reaching out to people on LinkedIn. And me nowadays, because I have 2 podcasts, I always am looking for new guests and new conversations happening. So I have my own templates of how to reach out to people depending on what purpose I am going to have. For example, if I'm reaching out to some professors or famous authors to my podcast, at least I need to know their work, and then I will tell them how did I know their work and how is their work relevant to what I am doing. For example, now I have this podcast called Escape 95, and if I'm talking to a professor who's a psychology of young people, for example, then I will say your work really focus on helping the 20-year-olds, which is really resonate with our podcast content. And then I will also show showcase like a link of the previous interview and tell him or her this is how we're going to do it. And finally, I would say it wouldn't take too much of your time. We only need 45 minutes or 30 minutes of your time. And then finally, I can also say this is an open invitation. I totally understand if it is not on your to-do list now, and whenever you're ready, please feel free to reach out to me again. There are a lot of templates online, and one of the very useful one I found, this book I've been recommending it many times. I really think it's the best outreach book ever, also for entrepreneurship, because the author of The Third Door, Alex Banayan, and when he reached out to all of these famous people, he's just a college student. He reached out to Tim Ferriss, he reached out to Bill Gates, he reached out to a lot of people that we have heard and we will never imagine that we can actually build a connection, and he made it happen. Of course, the path is not easy, but one of the very first encounter he had with Tim Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss taught him how to write an outreach email. And this is what Tim Ferriss said: the general composition of my emails when I'm emailing a busy person is, dear so-and-so, I know you're really busy and you get a lot of emails, so this will only take 60 seconds to read. So this is demonstrate that you're not going to take too much of your time, because everybody's time experience, especially if it's a busy person, they're very busy, so their time is very valuable. And then you can say the second set paragraphs, here's where you say who you are, you add 1 or 2 lines and establish your credibility. And then the third paragraph is where you ask your very specific question. So here we're just trying to, in this video, we're not trying to ask a question, right? It's more like, can we get a connection on LinkedIn? So it's easier than this. But it's just basically demonstrate where you're from and why you're relevant, and you're not going to take too much of their commitments. You're not going to take too much of their time. That's very crucial. And finally, I totally understand if you're too busy to respond, but even a 1 or 2 line reply will really make my day all the best. That's only that you can fit into 1 page like this. And I think for outreach emails, for your purpose, for me, I always say, I totally understand. I really appreciate you even take the time to read the email. If you're ever free, please get back to me and let me know when I can reach out again. I always think that's just like an open invitation. They don't have any commitment to respond or anything. So that's how you write outreach, LinkedIn message, outreach email. Finally, that's the next action point is, once you get the connection, what do you do? Some of my friends, and even I have in the past received emails and invitations on LinkedIn. They send 2 pages of long messages, and at the end they will attach a resume and say, this is my resume. Then sometimes I will look at those, I will be like, I don't know you, and it's nice that you have read through. Some of the emails are more well prepared than others. They really are relevant. It's too much of a commitment, I think, sometimes to send a resume, because if I have your LinkedIn profile, really I can see your resume is there. So really make good use of LinkedIn to craft your page as a self-explanatory as possible, rather than sending a 1-page CV. I think it's really a lot of effort, at least for me. I think nowadays people's attention span is really short, especially if people are working, they have a busy life, they have family. It's even more difficult for them to commit to have a chat with you, because now your purpose is very obvious. Of course, purpose is always obvious if you're looking for a job, but it's like dating, right? You wouldn't just get somebody's number today and tomorrow propose them. You need to build a relationship gradually. So I would suggest, people are genuinely nice. If you ask politely, you always have some value bringing to the table. You can, I think a coffee chat, like even 15 minutes is better than a phone call, and a phone call is better than message. Because yesterday my friend is showing me his message to a potential hiring manager, and he said, oh, I pitched my idea and I thought that's a conversation. It turned out it's not. The whole conversation happens on LinkedIn. You should give people easier reason to say yes rather than easy reason to say no, because if I'm somebody who's reading a message, it's really easy for me to say no. But saying no is also a good place to re-engage as well. You can ask, why is it this way and how I can improve. But it's way easier if you can ask the no, the reason behind the no, in person. I don't think any of those is rocket science, but I think sometimes people, because we use our digital technology, we use messages, phone calls, Zoom calls, and after the pandemic, everybody is used to everything online. We sort of have forgotten what is most important in building a connection. In the first place, to me, a connection is finding some common ground, finding our mutual interests, and finding why we should stay connected from the second that we meet each other. And it applies to all relationships. It's not just some business-to-business transactions. I normally wouldn't think it that way, because I think every connection will create something more than just dollar absolute value. And me being me have value to bring to the table. The other party, if we have a reason to connect on LinkedIn, they will have something that we can both improve as well. So even if you're just a student, don't think that you don't have much to contribute. Think of a way that you can also add to the picture, because, for example, people are always looking for talented young people to join their team, to maybe start a business or maybe join their startup. And I would like to think, if you have a reason to send a connection, you will have a reason for the people to accept your invitation, and you can build up from there. And the final thing I want to say is, don't be discouraged. I look at my previous 10 years back, my email reads like this: Dear Madam. I was writing an email to the recruitment team in Citibank, and it was like, Dear Madam, thanks for considering my application. I couldn't even finish that email when I look back, because I sent out in 2011. At the time, nobody taught me about this. I was a student studying in China. I speak decent English, but these are things I think it applies to across. It doesn't necessarily matter like what language you speak. It's about how we position ourselves. So that's about it. That's today's video. I will put a template and some small tips in the description. So I hope it can be really helpful for you to reach out to people on LinkedIn. And if you like this kind of videos, let me know. Put your comments and experience down below. Let me know what kind of other tips that you want when you want to build a relationship, when you want to find out something that's kind of hard for you to overcome. And I will see you next time.